Hey guys, welcome back to the tennis vlog for another live Q&A regarding the action at Roland Garros happening in October for the first time. Don't we love it? Thank you to everyone that's tuned in and everyone that's already sent questions in advance, which means that we can get going right away. Thanks for hanging around as well, because I know I said I was going to wait until the end of the Muguruza versus Collins match, seeing as it's the only match going on happening under the roof, but I think that one's not about to finish anytime soon. It's been a really high quality match for the most part, kind of a race to the forecourt for both players, Muguruza and Collins, both of them looking to be aggressive, moving in, trying to finish off, and Muguruza had the numbers that she needed. She was in control in that decider. She was 3-love and serving. She was opening up the court. She had Collins on the run, and as only Muguruza does, well, I say only, but Muguruza is a culprit for this, she decided to get tight and let Collins back into it. Collins was actually starting to fall apart, and completely on Muguruza there. She just decided to overthink. If she'd have just kept going as she was, she'd be through by now, but as it is, the women's lineup for the fourth round is incomplete. Hopefully it will be decided as we get going here and by the time we're done. For the men, not quite completed. There have been rain delays today. I believe matches are being carried over to tomorrow, I think, anyway. Oh no, men's lineup complete. Okay, clearly not on top of things. But anyway, play's almost done and we're going to get cracking anyway. Thanks to those that have sent questions through already, and I'm going to get going with them. Any questions relating to the action at the French Open so far, predictions for things to come, send them in. I'll have a crack at it, and then next week we'll get going with some preview and predictions, which you love and I hate. What have we got then? First question here is, do you think Simona Halep and Elina Svitolina will have a rematch of the semi-final or quarter-final in 2017, and how would I see that one going? I mean, it's a possibility. Halep obviously is the lead contender still in this tournament, particularly after the way she dismissed Amanda Anisimova. Now, that was billed by me as well, I'm holding my hands up here, as the match of the third round on the women's side at least. And I think the situation just got to Anisimova a bit. There was a lot of expectation there. Obviously, she's an incredibly talented player, reached the semis here last year, having beaten Halep, and was looking in great form this year, had only dropped 4 games moving into the third round. And Halep just made a cracking start to that match. She stepped up, she attacked the return, she got on top of the ball, took the game to Anisimova, and it was all happening quite quickly. And I think the hype that had surrounded that match and the way that Halep was competing and really just taking everything to Anisimova, that just saw her crumble, really. And it's been tough times for Anisimova recently, and I think that just the embarrassment and everything kind of got to her. She was rushing. So far from Anisimova's best performance, but Halep made that happen, and she was razor sharp from beginning to end, really focused and looking to win every point. I mean, she didn't need a handful of those games at the back end, but still, when Anisimova was trying her best to hold at the end, Halep still went for it and still attempted to win every single point. So Halep, very, very convincing. And then we have Svitolina, who has a pretty decent area of the draw, to be honest. I mean, she's quietly pushing her way through. She wasn't a leading contender for me coming in because, like Pliskova, Svitolina for me is a player that's always a challenger, always consistent, but never quite manages to cross the line to get to that big major win. But I don't rule her off making upsets, of which Halep could be one. Now, they'd be on track to meet in the semis. Svitolina's draw is lined up to get there, to be honest. She's got Caroline Garcia next, and while we know what Garcia is capable of when she's in form, she was really tight at the back end of that win over Elise Mertens. The home pressure is such a thing for the French players here. I think there's a reason that it's the lower ranked French players that are coming through because they don't have as much expectation. So for the players of Garcia's kind of ranking, this is a really difficult tournament to play. So I completely understand that tightness from her, but that's definitely a winnable match for Svitolina. After that, she would either have Nadia Podoroska or Barbara Krejcikova. Terrible butchering of the pronunciations there, I'm sorry. But as well as those two are playing, brilliant stories for both. Podoroska is on a fantastic winning streak. Krejcikova, a great doubles player for several years, looking to break through in the singles game. Great stories, but again, Svitolina with her experience and her game should come through them. So I can see Svitolina versus Halep happening. If that was to happen, I would have to take Halep in her current form. I think you've got two players there who are counterpunchers by nature, and they can pack a punch if they need to. I just think there's more layers to the game of Halep. I also think she's a better mover. Her athleticism has been on full display. And if that was to take place, my confidence would be in Halep at the moment. My confidence is in Halep until she gives me any reason to doubt, really. I think that was a really mature and professional performance against Anisimova and showed her intent. So big stuff from Halep so far. She's backing up expectations. Next question. Can Karen Khachanov cause trouble against Djokovic? And can Dimitrov win? Well, this person says Dimitrov can win against Tsitsipas. I'm not sure if they're asking me if he can. Just before I move on and answer this question, Collins has won, apparently. I'm just going to check to make sure that is correct. It is from 3-love down, Muguruza serving for 4-love. Collins comes through 6-4, and that is a poor loss for Muguruza. I wouldn't have been saying that at the beginning of the match because Collins was looking to take the game to Muguruza as well. She was looking to move up the court, and it really was a race as to who could get there first. Collins, we know what she can do when she's driving, when she's looking to be aggressive. She's quite an intimidating presence, and she can really get some power going even on a clay court. But back end of that, she was getting tight. She was missing the second serve returns that she'd been making earlier in the match, and that was on Muguruza's racket. Particularly disappointing for me to see that because I dared to call her as a dark horse for the title. But as I was watching that particular match, I was thinking, this is why Muguruza is so risky these days. She doesn't back herself the way she used to. And it's disappointing to see because with her game and her ability, she should be backing herself all the way through a match. The mentality just really undid her at the back end there. Credit to Collins for bringing it back, but Muguruza definitely opened the door. So interesting result there. But back to this question, can Khachanov treble Djokovic? Well, he's got the tools to do it. And if I'm remembering correctly, I'm going to check the head-to-head, but I'm pretty sure that Khachanov beat Djokovic at a Masters 1000 event back end of 2018 when people weren't giving him much of a shot. I'm going to pull up the head-to-head now to make sure that's the case, but Khachanov is kind of a dark horse on clay. Big guy, big strokes. You would expect him not to really be a clay quarter, but he has proven himself on clay in recent years. He has the game, he has the consistency. I did get that one correct. It was the Masters 1000 final in Paris 2018. Khachanov winning in straights 7-5, 6-4. I recall that was a really good serving performance from Khachanov, and he was finding his way up the court. Since then, Djokovic has beaten him twice in straight sets, but they haven't yet faced off on clay, so that's an interesting difference. 4 times they've faced off. Djokovic 3-1 up in the head-to-head, but they haven't played on clay. Now, at the moment, Djokovic is looking very secure. I watched parts of his win earlier today under the roof on Chatrier against Daniel Alahi Galan, I think it was. And, Galan was making some really good shot making out there. There were some brilliant moments from him, but Djokovic with his opponents, he kind of has them on a string and he'll let go just a little bit, enough to give them a bit of confidence. He knows when to let them hit a flashy shot and it be okay. He's got the power of timing, this guy. He knows it's okay if they hit him off the court every once in a while, but when push comes to shove, he's going to be controlling and dictating the rally. I think people underestimate how big his drive is off the forehand and backhand once he's inside the baseline, just because it's not a slick and quicker ball as some other players. That's a really heavy shot that players find hard to read as well once Djokovic is up on top of the baseline. Tough for them to know which way he's going. He's just in so much control. And that's something that Khachanov has to be wary of. He's got to keep him behind the baseline as much as possible. And the way to do that is to move up the court. Now, I haven't been watching Khachanov enough to know if that's what he's been doing consistently. I've caught snippets of him across the tournament so far. What I tend to do in the first week of a slam is have 3 or 4 matches on at once and try and get a look at people. I'd probably do better to watch fewer matches in depth. But it's been a good couple of wins, you know, for Khachanov coming in. Second round against Yuri Vesely. Vesely was giving him trouble. I did watch some of the key moments of that match, and it was big from Khachanov actually to commit. It's coming back to me now. So third set tiebreak, they'd split sets. Big moment in that match against Vesely in the second round. And Khachanov was down. I think he might have been down by a fair deficit, maybe 5-2. And he committed to using the forehand to move in, and you know, when he was in uncomfortable positions, when he was in a sticky situation on the scoreboard, he did move into the court, and that takes confidence, conviction, and knowledge of what you want to do. He won the back two tiebreaks there, and then a good win over Christian Garin, who we know can play really well on the surface. 4 sets in the third round. It's going to take a lot more to trouble Djokovic. He's going to have to anticipate on the return. He's going to need a good serving day. And the thing with Djokovic on best of 5, you have to back yourself across the entirety of the match. It's okay to play well in patches, as Djokovic's opponents have done so far, but you've got to sustain. Do I see Khachanov doing that even? If I can't call it before it happens, so I'm gonna say, you know, Djokovic heavy favorite for that one, but Khachanov with the tools to give him trouble. There was another part to this question. You say Dimitrov can win against Tsitsipas. I would agree. I don't know if I would call it. Dimitrov is just so inconsistent, you know, so good and so able on the surface, but inconsistent. I remember a match of his against Wawrinka here. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Toe to toe, he went with him and gave him all sorts of trouble. But when it came to those key points, he just disappeared, wasn't there. So Tsitsipas, on the other hand, is a top player for a reason. He does know to be there for those crucial moments. Came through a tough one in the opening round. Quick turnaround he had from the event he was competing at in Germany. Came in with a tough opener, came through that one. So I think Tsitsipas is pretty hardened for that match and should be able to come through. Okay, next question. Considering Thiem's form and the conditions at this year's Roland Garros, in a semi-final between Thiem and Nadal, who is the favourite? The favourite and who is most likely to come through can be different things. So the favourite has to be down to head-to-head statistics, form on the surface, results here over previous years, and few players can hold a candle. No player can hold a candle to Nadal's record here at Roland Garros. 12 titles. Thiem obviously has done phenomenally well to reach the final on back-to-back occasions, beat Djokovic here twice in recent years. You cannot play down how well he's done. He's been steadily improving as well. In the last final, he did take a set off Nadal. So Thiem doing brilliantly. Obviously is in form coming off the back of that US Open final. You can't call him the favourite though, because on paper there are just too many stats in favour of Nadal, the previous titles. His performance here so far, I'm pretty sure that he's dropped less games than Thiem, as well as Thiem has done. Now, if Thiem is to face off with Nadal, he'll have come through a pretty decent draw to get there. Nadal hasn't really been tested yet. He's not really faced let's just say it how it is. Nadal's not faced a guy that's going to beat him yet. I think things might get a bit interesting for Nadal in the 4th round as he faces Sebastian Korda, Petr Korda's son, former Grand Slam champion. Korda Jr. is a massive Nadal fan and said that he was praying to face Nadal in the 4th round. Now, who in their right mind says that with Nadal's form here? And that just shows how mentally ready this kid is for that match. He's already taken out John Isner this tournament. In fact, he's had three really good wins, actually, Sebastian Korda here. I'm going to pull them up to make sure I'm not mixing them up with Daniel Almataya, Altmaier even. Okay, so yeah, so he's beaten Andres Seppi, John Isner, and then he beat Pedro Martinez to back that up in straight sets. So Korda's in some good form. I'm not saying that he's going to beat Nadal. I think you'd have to be really confident to say that outright. But I think that he should give Nadal more trouble than any opponent he's faced so far. But to get back to the points, Nadal has been less challenged than Thiem so far. Thiem has had a pretty killer draw. He was saved a little bit by Hugo Gaston knocking out Stan Wawrinka in a brilliant match. I hope people got across that one because that was really well played from the Frenchman to come through and get the upset, which definitely was an upset by status and ranking. Really took the game to Wawrinka. So far, Thiem has come through Cilic, Sock and Ruud, and he hasn't dropped a set, so that's impressive. So he would be battle hardened, I would think, if he comes up against Nadal, but it's Nadal on clay at his favourite tournament in terms of results previously. So it's still going to take something big from Thiem to win that match. I'm going to move on from that. We could talk about that one a lot longer, and I have a feeling we might be doing so in a future video. So let's leave it till then, and I'll be well, I don't watch on Sundays actually, but I'll be keeping track of the Nadal versus Korda match with interest. I mean, it could be a straightforward dismissal, but it should be the most interesting match of Nadal's so far, I think. Right, what else have we got? Minus Halep and Muguruza, who is now out. Yeah, disappointed me too. Who can you see taking the title with Ostapenko out as well? Yep, I called Ostapenko as a dark horse, and I'm owning that because I really did think that she had something going with that win over Pliskova, with the way that she dominated her opening round. She really looks in form to go somewhere, and this just highlights the unpredictability of Jelena Ostapenko, and I think it's always going to be a thing. You know, Stan Wawrinka's always been streaky. He's just managed to peak in the right places to get his slams. Who knows whether we'll see another from Ostapenko, but this was definitely a big chance missed, losing to Paula Badosa-Gibert today in straight sets with some pretty poor serving stats by her standards. That's not a result she's going to be happy with. But I do have a name straight to my mind. That name is Petra Kvitova. Should have mentioned her before because she was in the correct half of the draw, the emptier bottom half of the draw, and also has a similar status to Ostapenko and Muguruza, former slam champion who's not the obvious pick coming in. I've always felt that Kvitova is underrated on clay courts. Really, you know, with her talent, she is a contender across all surfaces. I think it was the French Open 2012 when she made semis and lost to Sharapova. She wasn't all that far off, Kvitova, on that occasion. She played some great tennis, and we're seeing a little bit more of that from her now. She played a great match today from 5-1 down against Leylah Annie Fernandez, who for me is one of, if not the most talented teenager on the WTA circuit right now. She's from Canada. You should be keeping track of her. Little girl, big game, lefty, really intelligent with the way she places her shots. There was a lot of going back behind Kvitova, wrong-footing her. The timing she gets on the ball is brilliant, and in part that is thanks to her movement and how well balanced she is behind the baseline. She knows when to move up the court. Fernandez, fantastic, was 5-1 up in serving, looked ready to at least take that first set, and then peak Petra Kvitova hit, and she couldn't do anything. She didn't change much, Fernandez. Another thing that's great about her is her attitude and the way she always backs herself, whatever the scoreboard. She didn't get angry with herself when Kvitova was coming back. She stayed calm, gave herself chances, but when peak Petra Kvitova hits, there is very little that anyone can do. I mean, she's taken it to Serena Williams before when Serena's not been that far off her best. She's one of those players that when she is finding her marks, she's just incredibly difficult to play. I did wonder after she got the first set whether that form was sustainable, and it was. She carried it throughout the match, won in straight sets, and is a definite dark horse, if not a leading contender. So I would say that Petra Kvitova at the moment is right up there. So don't play her down just because she has a game that you would expect to do better on a hard court. It can translate across all surfaces, and she's proving it. What have we got? Can Nadal or Thiem battle past each other and beat Djokovic in the final? How physical and emotional would it be? I think the fact that Thiem and Nadal would face each other in the semi is a good thing for coming up to face Djokovic. I mean, both of them are big, strong guys, you know, two of the most enduring players on tour. So tiredness, fatigue is less of an issue for them. I know what happened to Thiem at the US Open, but even then, you know, he was able to pull himself across the line. I think the risk for Djokovic is, at the moment, the biggest risk for him is that he might actually go into the final not having been tested at all. And then how's he going to respond? I think he'll respond fine because he's Djokovic, but you never know. And Yeah, it would be physical and it would be emotional, but 100% whoever of Nadal and Thiem comes through can beat Djokovic in the final. Nadal's done it multiple times before. Thiem almost did it at the Australian Open on hard courts, and he's beaten him twice at this tournament within the last 3 years. So I have no concerns there for either of them. Whoever comes through that, if indeed that is the semi, that's not confirmed. Yeah, I can see either of them taking Djokovic down. I wonder if we're overplaying Djokovic's form at the moment a bit. I haven't watched him enough in depth here to fully say. I think that he's looking in control and sure of himself and dictating, but sometimes from Djokovic there is an unexpected little blip at times that wouldn't have happened a few years ago. So I just wonder. But for now, he looks completely secure. So I think Djokovic fans can rest easy for the time being. Thoughts on Thomas Berdych announcing his comeback? Nice try, not happening. A lot of unforced errors from Muguruza in the third set, more than the first and second. Yeah, 100%, and that completely comes down to the mentality. The errors she was making at the back end, there was no reason for her to make them midway through the second set. And it was completely internal pressure. So this is why you hear people say that the mentality is 80% of it once you get to pro level, because they were matching each other, Collins and Muguruza, from the baseline, from the forecourt. You know, they could both do the same kind of thing, but it was who could take care of themselves mentally and stay focused. And in the end, Muguruza just wasn't able to do that. So really disappointing for her. What else have we got? Cold weather affected Muguruza's game. I don't know. It's interesting, this one. It started actually on an outer court. I think it started on Suzanne Lenglen. Muguruza broke in the first game, and then they moved it to Chartier, which I don't think they'd have done that without asking the players. 100% the right move, because you want to get all the matches finished if it's all possible. If there's a roof on Chartier, finally, you better use it, you know? So it was the right call. No, I mean, they were going toe-to-toe with each other. I don't think you can blame the conditions there. Muguruza was in a winning position and let it go, and that's just how it goes sometimes. I'm 23. This years ago, there would always be people here asking how old I am. So there we go. It froze for a moment. I hope I'm still here. We're going to keep going. Okay. Why is Djokovic looking unhappy or restless, making mistakes in his game? I see him do this more often this year. He loses his cool more easily, whereas Nadal and Federer are cool as a cucumber. Sometimes it's not great, you know, to be completely unruffled all the way through. I mean, I've seen Federer be completely unruffled and go down in straight sets, you know. So sometimes I'm not recommending it because it's not a great look, but sometimes it is. I've heard people call it emotional control or something. Players, they let off a little bit of steam to feel less tight and just to get it out of their system and move on. Now, it's bad if you dwell on things. If you are just getting it out of your system in that moment and moving on, good for you. You know, it does work. But yeah, it is a little bit more unusual for Djokovic. I think it's just his perfectionist nature, you know, wanting everything to be 100%. But, you know, as things stand, hasn't dropped a set so far. He's not really got much to get annoyed with. He's looking pretty convincing from what I've seen. Next question. Halep and Swiatek spent the least amount of time on court, under 4 hours. Swiatek had some tough opponents, and she presented some solid tennis. What are her chances against Halep? Now, this is a tricky match for Halep. I think she has good chances. Look at the matches she's come through so far. Beat Marketa Vondrousova. Now, who did she beat in the last round? I feel like that was quite a notable match. And I didn't catch it, which I was annoyed about. Oh, no, I did. Saw the end. Bouchard, okay? So, you know that I don't rate Bouchard's game incredibly highly, but, you know, she's on her way back. That one dimension she has of hitting big, she was adding to that with moving in a little bit more. But, you know, if Swiatek was at her best, it was going to be too much for Bouchard. She can mix things up a lot more. And on any surface, really, Swiatek, she can use the timing to generate the pace. She can mix in with the drop shot. She just kind of controls you. I think she might find that a little bit more difficult to do against Halep, who can mix up the pace herself. She's a smart player, and she's got wheels, so she's going to cover the court better than Bouchard was able to, I feel. So I think Swiatek's chances are good there. There might also be danger of kind of calm before the storm on Halep's part, because she did look so convincing against Anisimova, and sometimes that can be a danger sign. For me, it was pretty convincing, but you never know. Every match is a new match, a new day, a new occasion, and the potential for conditions to be different, for the mentality to be different, for the feelings to be different. So yeah, I think she has good chances actually for Swiatek, who she lost at the US Open to Victoria Azarenka. And Azarenka had to play top tennis to take her down. I think from what I remember of that match, I think Azarenka edged the first set and then was able to get on top of her to finish off. But it was not a straightforward set. It required really hanging tough, being at peace with the fact that sometimes Swiatek was going to hit her off the court, and just waiting to capitalize in key moments. And I think, yeah, Swiatek needs a good amount of first serves, stop Halep getting on top of the second serve and getting her teeth into the rallies, because we know how well Halep moves and recovers. So she's going to be difficult to take off the court. Okay. Do you think we can have a maiden slam winner in the women's event? Of course. We can have whatever we want in the women's event. You know, a qualifier could win, if there are any left. A teenager could win. Honestly, anything is imaginable on the WTA side. It is that open. But, you know, Halep is looking pretty good. Maybe I've jinxed her, but Kvitova obviously has got a good open part of the draw that she should be able to come through. But, you know, like I say, every match is a new match, and you never know how a certain player is going to come out and play on that given day. So, yeah, I think there are a number of names in the draw, probably a majority that you could give legit chances to, that I don't dare call outright at this point in time. Take us into the second week, first off. I think Simona is too prepared and will win, says someone. The percentage of Cilic winning. Who's he playing? Who is he? Cilic is out. He went out to Thiem in the first round. Okay. I think if Ostapenko had played a higher ranked player, she would probably have played better today. Seems to play better when the underdog. You know, that's a really good point, and it comes down to the mentality again. It is so much easier to go out there swinging when you're less expected to win, and that is why, you know, with Ostapenko against Pliskova, for anyone that knows their tennis and has followed these tournaments in recent years, they would have known that Ostapenko had great chances against Pliskova. But, you know, she knew that she could go out there with the status as the underdog and really go for her shots, which she did off the return and throughout the rallies. And against Paula Badosa-Gibert, you know, there you have a player who's a great player on a clay court, and she doesn't have the status that says she should be a challenge for Ostapenko. So it does become very mental. And so that's a good thing to point out. Give up. Can Kiki Bertens win the slam? As I said a few minutes ago, essentially anyone can win the slam. It is it's very open. I want to say that you have your leading contenders, okay? I was pretty confident at the beginning of the year in January. I remember my pre-Australian Open video, and I said, it's an open tournament, but I have more confidence in the players at the top than I usually do. I said that if your obvious picks don't win, I don't see it falling that much further down. And then what happened? Sophia Kenin went and won it, and very few people would have called that. Next to no one would have called that, I would say. So I'm still a little bit apprehensive to go right out there and say that, you know, Halep should get it, and if Halep doesn't, then Kvitova should get it, etc. So, yeah, you know, Bertens has been a semi-finalist here. She really showed grit to come through that one against Sara Errani. She backed that win up. You know, the cramps. People really don't seem to understand cramp. I saw Bertens getting stick for being fine in her match after the one against Errani, but she had full body cramp. Cramp is not a lasting injury. It comes on and it goes off. So why should she not be fine a couple of days later? It's just, Yeah, I mean, I'm not a doctor and I know that. So that was kind of annoying. Ons Jabeur, dark horse. Yeah, I definitely put her in the dark horse category. She's someone that's lurking. She's also in the bottom half with Kvitova. So I can't remember which round they would face off, but she definitely has opportunities. A good match to come through today against Arina Sabalenka. Sabalenka going so big from the baseline. It was that classic matchup of the big hitting baseliner against the more craft oriented Jabeur. They play kind of similar sometimes. But Jabeur, using her versatility well, was just able to grit through and has a decent draw now to go deep. So yeah, I'd be calling her a dark horse. Wouldn't be calling her to win at this point. Do I give Sofia Kenin any chance? I give her more chance than I would have given her at the beginning of the tournament. Still hasn't come through anyone that impressive. So her last win was convincing, but it was over Arina Barra, who actually plays a lot at ITF level. So she's best on a clay court probably, but she's a smaller player, kind of easy to dictate around. So 6-2-6 love from the number 4 seed is the kind of result you should be seeing. I think it's good for Kenin though, that we have seen that result from her, because like I said in I think the last video, she came into this tournament and her confidence looked shattered. She had gone out in a bad loss at the US Open. Then she'd been double bageled by Victoria Azarenka in Rome. So coming into this, she was low on confidence. And what that particular scoreline shows us in the third round is that she's getting her confidence back. It was 2 gritty 3-setters to come through the opening 2 rounds. Much more convincing there. Very winnable match against Fiona Ferro, but credit to Ferro, French woman there, rising to the occasion, taking the game to her opponents. Doing pretty well here. And I think with a lot of the unexpected presences on the women's side that are coming through, I'm thinking Fiona Ferro, Martina Trevisan, etc., they're playing to win. Like, they don't have the most versatile games, they don't have the most depth in the games, but they are playing to win. They're taking the games to their opponent, they're being aggressive, they're moving up the court, and they're making the most of what they have. And that is really impressive, because too many of these top players at the moment, I'm thinking of Muguruza just now when she was playing a winning game and started going, they stop playing to win and they start playing not to lose, and there's a big difference. And I think the underdogs that are coming through are really playing to win their matches, and that's why they're still here. So it should be a winnable match against Ferro, but you never know. It depends what mentality she goes in with. But good confidence. What have we got? No Hawkeye challenge for the French Open. Rather looking into the mark. Hawkeye is less accurate on a clay court just because of the surface. It's very much less clear cut than on a hard court or a grass court, which is why a lot of tournaments choose not to have it. Now, I think there will be controversy either way. Obviously, we've seen a lot of controversy and some poor line calls, I have to say, so far at the French Open, but I think equally there would be controversial incidents if you had the Hawkeye. So I don't necessarily think it would be a great thing if you got it. At the same time, I think players would be less inclined to argue with a machine, however accurate or inaccurate it was. Just with humans, there's always that thing of you might be wrong. Just like the players, they don't always hit winners. Sometimes they hit unforced errors. The umpires, it's a tough job. Sometimes they're wrong, but it's in their hands. You said Jabeur will beat Sabalenka. Well done, you got it right. Thank you. I was actually, as I was watching that match, I was trying to remember who I'd called, and I thought I'd called Jabeur. But it went down the wire. It was a close one as anticipated. And to be honest with you, like, I'm happy to have got that one right, but it really could have gone either way. I think Jabeur, just with the mentality to come through at this point and the grit to get it done. Thoughts on Lara Siegemund? Well, she's not still in the singles draw, but I've always rated her across clay courts. She had a brilliant run a few years back when she qualified for the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix, and she either came runner-up or she won. I actually can't remember which. She might have lost to Kerber in the final, or she might have won. But she's definitely done big things on clay. It's disappointing that she didn't go further. I'm pretty sure she didn't go further this week. Let me check. I'm pretty sure she went out. So she's no, she's still in. Okay, I thought that she'd gone out early rounds. So she's in the 4th round. Oh, this is interesting. I'm just looking through her results. Wow, I completely missed that she was still here. Good shout. So she beat Mladenovic round one. I remembered that because that was comprehensive, 7-5, 6-3. Big stuff from her. She's since beaten Julia Gerges, who was top 10 not that long ago, and Petra Martic, the number 13 seed. Now, I mean, in terms of a seeded player, that's probably quite a nice draw for her. But yes, Siegemund got Badosa Gibert next. She should win that match, I think. You know, I'm playing down Badosa, so I'm really sorry to her. But you know, Siegemund's fantastic with the drop shot, great and comfortable on this surface. I'm glad to see that she's still in because she's an interesting presence. And who knows, you know, she's got a decent little draw there. She could end up going deep. Let me just find where she is in the overall draw because I can't believe I scrolled down that earlier and missed her name. Okay, so she's got Badosa next, and then she'd face the winner of Kvitova v Zhang. Now, Kvitova v Siegemund, that would be a great match. A good clash of styles, and Siegemund, with these wins, should be getting some confidence back. She won the doubles title at the US Open. Who did she partner? Vera Zvonareva. I think I've got that right. And they won the doubles. So I think you underestimate how helpful that can be if you've done well in doubles and then you go back to the singles court. You know, the versatility, the quick reactions that are required, that can be incredibly helpful. And yeah, she's so comfortable on clay anyway. So, oh, that's really nice to see that she's still going. And yeah, she could actually, you know, I feel with Kvitova, as well as she plays and as convincing as she is when she's on, even for her at the moment, it feels like there's someone that comes up and takes her by surprise or gives her trouble, and maybe Siegemund could be that player. I'll keep an eye on that. Okay. What happened to... No, I'm getting too far ahead. Oh, I'm loving all these questions coming in. Keep them coming. I will have to wrap up in a few minutes, but nice stuff, guys. Okay. Any chance that Zverev can beat Nadal in the quarters if he beats Sinner? Yeah, I think people are in danger of underestimating Zverev a bit. He really impressed me against Marco Cecchinato because against Pierre Hubert, he won that one in 5, but it was gritty. Like, it was not flashy, impressive stuff from Zverev. He was very clear himself afterwards that it was not his best tennis. But again, you know, Zverev is a top player because he has that ability to identify the key moments and come through them. And then again, the points from that match proved on them. It was the most convincing win I've seen from him in a long, long time. Very much in control, big serves, moving up the court, really good and really fluid with his grounds, and the backhand particularly, I think Cecchinato was finding it tough to read. It was looking good at the line, and he anticipated really well. A big asset, Cecchinato, is drop shot and the way he can use that, and Zverev was anticipating so well, getting up to the forecourt in good time to have a little bit of time to play with it. Committed to his option though when he got up there. And yeah, very impressed by Zverev actually in the last round. And I think that, you know, everyone's talking about Nadal versus Thiem already. It's not set in stone, hasn't happened yet. I mean, neither of them have even come through their next match. So you do have to take it a step at a time. And you know, Zverev will know that people are expecting less of him on clay, even though, you know, he's won Masters 1000 title on clay, maybe even 2. I lose track of where he won them. But yeah, he's played well on clay in the past, and he's the kind of player that knows when to take his chances. So I would definitely not be writing Zverev off, although Nadal is still the guy here to beat. Where have we got to? What's your analysis of Nadia Podoroska's game and chances? I caught a bit of her, but not enough to talk in depth on that, so I won't waste my breath or your time. Hoping to see a little bit more of her. What I will say is she's doing really well to ride the wave of momentum. And this is where the confidence of just match wins comes into play, and this is why you sometimes see players, like Bouchard actually for a while, dropping down to ITF level to get their confidence back, because they're playing at a level where it's just a little bit of a difference and a little bit of more of an opportunity to get match wins under their belt. And wherever those match wins come, they give them confidence. So for Podoroska, she won an ITF title before qualifying for the draw, and then now she's made the 4th round. Brilliant from her. You know, she's ranked well outside the top 100s. Major credit. And yeah, I think, who's she playing next? I'm sorry, it looks like I'm really not on top of these draws, but really, I just don't trust myself not to say the wrong thing. Where are we at? Okay, so Krejcikova, yeah, I was looking at it previously. So that's really winnable, and that might turn into quite a tight match because both players will see that as a real opportunity. So that could get messy, but also could be really good because they could really step up and go for it, both of them. So yeah, she's definite chances there. That is a huge chance for one of them to make a maiden quarterfinal. So wow, yeah, big stuff there. What happened to Wawrinka? Was his opponent just playing that well? I would say so in the end. I did mention briefly, because I got quite a few questions about Wawrinka in the last video, and I did feel that he just dropped off a little bit too much in that second round match. The overall level, you know, his talent doesn't die. He's still there. He's still going. He can still disguise the backhand really well. He can get great depth on his shots, but the consistency just kind of ebbs and flows a bit. He did open the door at times against Hugo Gaston, but you've got to give this guy so much credit. Hugo Gaston, 20-year-old from France, just turned 20 actually a few days ago. Was so good. He's a lefty, you know, he moves really well. He was really using that lefty forehand and getting, I think the lefties in general usually have a lot more disguise on that particular shot. You're not fully sure where it's going. And he used that to great effect. He drove the backhands, was really proactive in the way he was using his positioning. Great hands at the net. Looked really, really comfortable in the forecourt, and his anticipation was on point. He was moving in advance. He just knew where Wawrinka was going to hit. I remember vividly this one point where he tried a drop shot, and it wasn't the greatest drop shot in the world. It kind of sat up, and a lot of players, you see them do that, and they think, oh, done now, point over. Gaston adjusted, anticipated where Wawrinka was going off that drop shot, and was in place to hit the volley and then finish the point. And that's the kind of never say die attitude that you want to see from a player, particularly an underdog. And the way he was edged in that fourth set to then roll through the fifth set 6-love, you can't take anything away from that guy. I thought that was super tennis from him, really high quality. Now gets Dominic Thiem. So people are saying that Thiem's draw opens up, which it does, but he's also now even more of a heavy favourite to come through this next match. And if Gaston can back himself against Wawrinka, a player that he's looked up to and watched in the past, then he can do the same against Thiem. The thing with Thiem is that he's going to be so much more solid. He doesn't dip as much as Wawrinka does in matches. It's more of a sustained level. He's looking to be a lot more aggressive as well. So I think that will be a tough match for Gaston. But, you know, if he can bring that level that we saw against Wawrinka, anything is possible. So that could be an interesting match, but I would take Thiem to come through. And yeah, for Wawrinka, the level is there, the consistency just isn't, and that has been a thing throughout his career, so I guess it's nothing overly new, really. Where are we at? I'm going to wrap it up very, very soon. Ostapenko reverted to her usual form. Badosa was very solid. Sounds a believable, yeah, a believable overview of that match. Now I'm really forgetting my words now. Yeah, there's some unpredictable matches at the moment. French Open roof making noise when it rains outside. Does it bother the players? Now that's an interesting question. Sometimes I watch the matches on mute, so I wouldn't know some of this stuff. So maybe this is a lesson to me to actually have the sound on. But it is difficult when I'm watching multiple at a time. It got really loud at times at the US Open, so depending on how heavy it does rain, I remember a particular match in the Jennifer Brady versus Naomi Osaka semi-final. Brady had hung so tough with Osaka, gone toe-to-toe with her all the way through, and then there was this one match in the deciding set where the rain came down like crazy, and Brady's concentration just went for a moment, and that was it. That was potentially the deciding moment, and potentially the rain played a part. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to note, and I think especially when there's less of a crowd as well, other noises become more audible and more notable. So yeah, maybe it does play more of a part than people realize. Collins versus Jabeur predictions. Well, I think that Jabeur's had a really good preparation for that match with Sabalenka, another big baseliner. I think that's a great matchup of styles. If she can come through Sabalenka, she can come through Collins, but will Collins have more consistency than Sabalenka? That's the big question. Prediction for it? it's tough. I mean, Collins has been deeper at a slam. Did drop off against Muguruza, and then Muguruza opened the door to let her back through. Will Jabeur do the same? These are the questions. I wish I'd watched more of both of them. I think at this point I'd give Jabeur the benefit of the doubt. But I feel like a lot of people are having sometimes overconfidence in her, so maybe I'll fall foul and victim of that. Thoughts on Serena pulling out? Will she get 24 now? I think it was the best thing for her to do. You know, she was clearly injured after the US Open. You've got to look after that. Will she get 24? It's more and more uncertain. I think the longer it takes, the harder it is. I think that now she's finding it more difficult to finish the points off more quickly, which is what she was doing in her heyday. But she can still hit players off the court. She's still got the serve, which no one can compare to, I don't think, in the women's game. I mean, you've got the Pliskova serve, which is very good, but in terms of consistency, ability to use it to set up the point, versatility, Serena's right up there, and she did have some 2012-esque serving numbers at the US Open, so we just can't write her off. She's Serena Williams, and she's still going, so it's, you know, it's less likely, but it's doable, is what I'm going to say. I didn't even know that the French Open had a roof. That was a surprise to me today in the Novak match. Who knew? Well, it's new for this year, so it's another of those things we're getting used to, along with the floodlights, etc. Yeah, it was Rome where Zverev won a Masters 1000. I just didn't know if he'd won a Madrid as well, but I'm going to take that as a no. People are telling me to keep going. I have to go at some point. People have to go to bed. It's late here. It's nearly 11 p.m. I think Martina Trevisan is a very hard player to beat on clay. Yeah, the way that she's risen. I mean, she was down double match point against Maria Sakkari in that second set tiebreak, and everything just went up a notch. You know, the effort she was putting in, the way she was driving, she was hitting with less margin. And the thing with Trevisan is she's just so solid from the back of the court, and Sakkari, it became a mental battle for her because she could not find a way through Trevisan. And, you know, as she went deeper into that third, it became harder and harder to see a way through for Sakkari because she was so deflated after not having closed that one out in straights. She knew it was a match she really should have won. Yes, she's really difficult to get through. And this is where the slower element of the clay is highlighted, because how do you finish off these points? Sakkari has been playing well on the faster surfaces recently, and she didn't have an answer there. So, yeah, Trevisan deceptively tricky. But Vrinka missed a good chance. Yeah, well, good chances left, right, and centre at the moment, I think. Schwartzman and Thiem in quarterfinals. I haven't seen as much of Schwartzman as I would like. Obviously, he was really impressive in Rome. I think he struggled a bit in his last match, did he? Oh no, just tight first set against Norbert Gombos, 7-6, 6-3, 6-3. He came through. Hasn't dropped a set yet. He's playing Lorenzo Sonego next. Now, Sonego played a really good match against Taylor Fritz. I think it was 19-17 in the third set tiebreak that he won. Won in straights, but from what I heard, I mean, I missed the majority of that match, but I heard it was a really, really high level from both. And I think Fritz made one unforced error in that entire tiebreak and still lost it. So that tells you a lot about the sustained form and the sustained confidence and mentality that's needed to beat someone like Schwartzman. So Sonego could be the first real test there, but yeah, we could definitely be seeing Schwartzman v Thiem, I think. Fiona Ferro is on an 18-match winning streak. Can she go all the way? Well, I mean, it's more of a gutsy call to say Ferro. You know, I've commentated on her a few times actually in recent years, and clay has definitely been the surface for her. She can use the forehand really well. Can she go all the way? I mean, it depends on draw. It depends on opponent, really. I think at some point she should come up against someone whose peak she can't match at this point in time. But I've been impressed with the way she's handled the home pressure and the way she's come through so far. Who's she got next? I can't remember a thing at the moment. Who has she got next? Fiona Ferro will be playing. I saw her name in the draw literally recently. I feel like I've even spoken about it already. Sophia Kenin, yeah. Now that'll be an interesting match. See if Kenin can hang with her. Yeah, I mean, she can go deeper. I think Kenin's winnable for her. It just depends how consistent Kenin is on the day. Last question. I'm going to close with this. If it comes down to a Nadal versus Djokovic final, who wins? It's too early for you, but as of now, who do I think? So as of now, coming into this tournament, I said Nadal to win. Got to stick with that at the moment. He's not had big challenges so far, but neither's Djokovic. Both have come through pretty comprehensively. I've seen Nadal picking up rhythm as he's gone through. In his last match, particularly, he was driving a little bit more. I thought he was using the backhand cross court really effectively to cut through the court because that's a flatter shot, and then building behind it with the angles on the forehands. He's just taken everything in his stride, all these difficult conditions, everything that's been thrown at him, he's taken it and he's got on with it and is looking really good. So at the moment, I do not see a reason to go against Nadal. He's got a positive record against Djokovic here. He's beaten him from being down. He's beaten him comprehensively. So I go with Nadal at the moment. May change, but Nadal's the guy for now, is what I'm saying. And we'll wrap up there, but yeah, Zverev also beat Thiem in the Madrid final in 2018. I was thinking, surely I didn't imagine that. Okay, so Rome and Madrid for Zverev. Good to know. And we go. Thank you very much. I've been here a little bit longer than I intended, but it's been great questions from you guys, so thank you for tuning in. Next time I'll be back. We won't be doing another live Q&A. It'll be, I think, oh my days, it'll be preview and predictions time. Now, for my least favourite round, the quarterfinals, traditionally my least favourite because there's more matches to look at and I haven't had the same in-depth analysis, but quarterfinals was my best round at the US Open. I think I got 7 of 8 correct, and the 8th one wasn't too far wrong. So I guess a little bit more confidence this time around, but who knows? We'll see. If you want to see how it goes down, you got to tune in. That'll be beginning of next week. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and at the beginning of next week, be back. Hit subscribe if you haven't, so that you can stay up to date. And I will see you next time.